We'll now discuss the apparent declaration of a free agent status by Emanuel Navarrete. Mga kaibigan, itong two-time world champion, si Emanuel Vaquero Navarrete, is now currently analyzing the best options for his career after starting a period of being a promotional free agent. Now, usually, mga kaibigan, itong mga ganitong klase ng fighter, of course, they always want what's best for them. And now that with this declaration of being a free agent, what will be in store for somebody like Vaquero? But before you answer that question, is it a wise decision, Ryan Songalia? Is it a wise decision for him to declare free agent status?
Well, I think he has to go out there and make the best deals for himself. It's harder to get those big fights, if you're not aligned with a promoter. So that's sort of the issue that he has for himself. But he's the top-rated guy at featherweight right now. He's got the WBO title. He's made a little bit of a name for himself. But what could happen is if you are a free agent, you could go to different promotions and make deals with different people that you maybe couldn't have made because of some promotional alliances. So that could be the thing that works out in his favor. For instance, like if Navarrete was to fight, Mark Magsayo, for instance, if Mark Magsayo is on PBC, he could now go and make a deal with Mark Magsayo, and another promoter. Whereas, we've seen this work in the past. Recently, Canelo Alvarez has sort of broken, the traditional promoter-fighter ties. Where fighter will sign a long-term contract with somebody and try to just sort of stick to one person and let that person make his deals for himself. If Navarrete feels confident that he can go out there and make a deal for himself that's better and say, okay, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go over there. Yeah, good for him. That will work for him. It's worked for Canelo Alvarez. To a lesser extent, it worked for Mikey Garcia, where Mikey Garcia was able to look for the best financial deals for himself. Fighting on one-fight contracts, with the zone, and if it was advantageous to him, he'll go to PBC, and he was able to make a lot of money without taking a whole lot of risk and being tied down long-term, where your interests will actually intersect with that of the promoter. Like, if there's a long contract and you're on the downswing, and it's advantageous to that promoter to try and cash you out against one of their ascendant fighters, that could happen. So, but Navarrete has shown that he's an exciting fighter, that to a lesser extent than, say, Canelo Alvarez, he's in demand. But when you have a belt, you still have a place. You have a seat at the table. You may not be the head of the table, but you'll have a seat.
How attractive is Navarrete to, let's say, an organization, the other organization's champions, or the other organization's hierarchy that would consider pitting him against their champion in order to maybe unify belts and eventually create a bigger purse for their fighters? In this case, Navarrete.
Well, that's the kind of hard thing to gauge right now, because the biggest fight right now, I would say, for Navarrete would be against Oscar Valdez. Valdez is signed with Top Rank, who is the promotion that Navarrete is declaring independence from. So he may not be able to get that fight now, because if he doesn't sign a long-term deal with Top Rank, that's a fight that should have happened one fight earlier, not one fight later, I would say. But Bob Arum is good at dangling those carrots. That's a carrot for Bob to sort of try and lure Navarrete back into a longer-term deal. We saw this a little bit with Terrence Crawford, where Crawford was sort of asserting his independence from Bob Arum and saying, no, listen, you know what, my mind's made up, I'm moving forward. And Arum, all he could offer was, well, we'll offer him a one-fight deal. We'll make the fight with Errol Spence. And Crawford's like, well, if you couldn't get me the fight when I was with you, why would you get me the fight when I'm not with you? So having a promoter can be a path towards making bigger fights. I think with Navarrete, if he wants that Valdez fight, he'll have to sign a deal probably.
And we'll see what happens in the future as far as Vaquero Navarrete is concerned. And we hope it's going to be something big.